Hello guys, so today I'm bringing you a video that happens to not be out on the lake, but actually right up front of my house. So today I'm going to be showing you guys my entire fishing inventory, everything from my rods, my reels, to my lures, and my storage. I'm going to be going through all the different things one at a time. Might be a lengthier video, might not. I won't really find out until I begin editing, but I hope you guys like it. I know that this video is definitely going to take a lot of time and effort to edit, so a like would be much appreciated. And also, since I am a new YouTuber on the platform, although I have had other channels, this is the start of this channel. So any form of sharing the channel or this video would also be much appreciated to help my content reach other people. So let's get right into it. Starting with storage, you'll see my fishing backpack here. This is the backpack and the storage that you'll see me use in pretty much all of my videos, if not all of them. This is what I use about 99.9% of the time, and this is currently what is carrying absolutely all of my fishing tackle. You'll see I even have another tackle box within this tackle box. So this is the storage that I use the most. Next we have my large tackle box. I think it was like a $40 box. So this is not something to be slept on. I used to use it a lot. Then I kind of got annoyed with having to bring it everywhere. And that's kind of why I ended up switching to using a bag. Inside of here, you'll see a whole bunch of storage. Everything from a little squid jig to some fishing line, some empty containers. This is kind of like my recycling bin at the moment. I would like to start doing stuff with it. But yeah, there's not much to see in here. We got a can opener for if we're ever bringing, tuna fish or anything to throw in the water and attract some fish. We got that for. But that's about it for the big tackle box. There's also some cup holders, so that's pretty cool. On to the next one. This is pretty much a similar idea, just a little bit smaller. It's got some storage up on top. And on the inside, once again, a pretty standard tackle box. Right here, we actually have a fish scaler for if you catch and fillet fish. And then just some more storage with some more random things. Yeah, not much to see here. Pretty standard medium-sized tackle box. Next, we have my little tackle box that I use for just about everything. Or I should say I used to. Now, I've kind of moved on and I've started to use the bag a whole lot more than this box, but this box definitely does come in handy. And if you are starting out fishing, I definitely recommend getting something like this. You can fit all the necessities in here, everything from a bait knife to a pair of scissors to your pliers if they're a nice small pair, and then anything you can't fit you could always fit in your pocket. Next, we're going to move on to tackle, gear, and bait. So all of my tackle and gear and bait is within this bag here. So starting off, you'll see my braided line scissors, the only scissors that I've found that can actually cut braided line. Got them for, I think it was like $6 on Amazon. They're actually in my Google Drive. If you guys haven't checked that out yet, there's a little link in the banner for my channel. You could get these scissors in one of the links within the Google Drive. Definitely recommend them, especially for how cheap they are. Next, we have my pliers. Just a pretty standard pair of pliers. I'm not even going to bother taking them out of there. I got them at Dick's Sporting Goods, and that's pretty much all I have to say about them. Next, we got all of my tackle. So right over here, we'll start with my topwater and other lures. It's not 100% organized, but for the most part it is. So in here, you'll see I have two topwater frogs. One of them I snipped the legs off of and made them a little bit uneven. It helps with the swimming action a little bit. The other one I left as normal. Right here I have quite a few little spoon jigs. Those are amazing for catching small bluefish, even small stripers. I've never caught a striper myself actually, but I hear they're very good for that. They're also great for smallmouth and largemouth bass, and I've caught some rock bass on them, so those are good. Over here I just got some little rubber swim baits, little rubber like grubs and stuff. I don't know why those are in here. Here I actually made my own flies. They're not good at all, but that's okay. Over here we got like a topwater popper. which is tangled up with a little crawfish crankbait. So that's cool. Then right here, we got some little spinner baits. They're like little spinner flies. These are one of my absolute favorite lures. On these, I've caught everything from an inshore lizardfish, which I caught about a month ago, my first one, which is saltwater, to then I went over to a nearby pond, caught crappie, bass, bluegill, and perch, yellow perch. So these little spinner flies are very, very good. Next, I have trout marshmallows, normal standard trout marshmallows, although I have used them, still never caught a trout. Lastly, in this little box, we have some little rubber swim baits, or not so little. They're pre-rigged with hooks already, so there's no need to get swim bait hooks for things like this. I don't really use these much at all. I probably should. I'm sure they work a charm. I just have not put in the time and effort to trying out these rubber swim baits, which I've had in my tackle box for probably years now and still never got around to using. In this tackle box, you'll find all of my gear, like hooks and little connectors, line connectors. I got some little weights, some little split shot weights, all different sizes. These ones are really nice because although they're small, they have enough weight to really get your bait down to the bottom of the water. And then we got some tiny little ones in here. Next up, we have little trout floats. Kind of use them as bobbers. They work. They're really cheap. In fact, I have a whole bag of them right here. Next up, we got little plastic beads to use as float stops, like for these, so that way they don't go up or down your line too far. Here we got an entire thing of J-hooks. They're all kind of rusted. They're definitely not stainless steel. They're all tangled as well. These are obviously the best when it comes to catching things like sunfish and bluegill. Just get one of these with a worm on it. It works a charm. Yeah, they probably have like 1,000 of those in there. Here we have some slightly larger seeming J-hooks. I know they're not actually called J-hooks. That's just what I call them because I always forget the technical term for these type of hooks. They have the little curve. If anyone could tell me what type of hook this is, that would be nice. Here we got some pretty large treble hooks. I don't really use these. I think my dad bought these. I don't really know why, but that's cool. And then here we got some smaller treble hooks. I'll sometimes put worms on this for the same use as J-hooks, just to change it up a bit. And then here we got the classic worm hook for Texas rig and all that. Got some octopus hooks or some circle hooks used for catfish and other bottom feeders. Within this tackle box, I got all of my rubber swim baits. So here we got the classic rubber swim bait that you put a swim bait hook on, works a charm. Another one, we got a whole pile of them right here. Got a little bass worm, or not so little, I guess. Then we got some of these here. I'm not really even sure why I got these. Still haven't caught anything on them. I'm sure they work, I just haven't been using them right. Once again, similar to just the typical bass worm, just with a bunch of like tentacles or something. Here we got a bunch of white little grub baits. These things are amazing. They're extremely cheap, and if you hook them correct, they work just as good as the little spinner flies. It's a similar idea. The tail kind of just swivels in the water. They work amazing. I don't really know why I got these. Just kind of, they looked cool. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about those. Some more grub baits, and then we got some grub baits connected to a jig head. So that's really all that these are. They're just jig heads with a grub bait. I've caught some bass on those. They work very well. Any kind of grub baits work good for any freshwater fish, I've really found. Here we just got some rubber worms, some fake worms. And then in here, we got some chatter baits or spinner baits. I think these are technically spinner baits. And I've used them a bit. I don't know if I've been, I don't think I've been too successful with them, but I definitely know that they do work and do recommend getting a few of them, especially when they're on sale for $1 at Walmart. Onto the tackle box within the tackle bag. It's pretty much just a standard little box, kind of cooler shaped tackle box. So in here we have 3 different tackle boxes, and then on the outside we have some more storage. So right here I have my swim bait hooks. They are just standard swim bait hooks. They're non-weighted though. So what you do is you take the hook, they kind of look like worm hooks, and then you got the little screws to tie the front of your rubber swim bait into. Next, within the tackle box, here's a tackle box full of some jigs, some little squid jigs. Over here we got a jerk bait. We got another jerk bait. This one's much larger. This is something you want to use for stripers and bluefish. Here's a crankbait. I've caught perch on this, bass. And then over here, once again, another jerk bait that you want to use for bluefish and stripers. That'll do it for that tackle box. Next we have my bobber box. I don't really think this needs an explanation, just a box full of bobbers. And then finally we got a box full of weights. These are all much heavier weights. These are like 1 ounce, 2 ounce weights. This one right here is actually a 3 ounce weight. Yeah, that's pretty much all this is. So next up we got my bait knife with a nice little belt clip. It's just a standard bait knife, good for cutting squid and bait fish and anything you're going to use as bait. It's all rusted up though, so that's not very cool, but that's how it works. I doubt it's stainless steel either. That was a pretty cheap bait knife, but as long as it's got a sharp edge, it works. Right here we got my camera mount. This is what I attach my phone to film. It's a pretty standard camera mount for a phone. I got it for 25 bucks on Amazon. Next up we got the handy dandy ruler. Next up, we got my little, I guess another little tackle box within the tackle box. This houses the majority of my smaller spinner baits. This is a pack of like 20-ish of them, came on Amazon. In there, those are my pliers from Bass Pro Shops. That did not come with this. I put that in there myself, but the rest of it did. So all of these spinner baits all came with this. So that's pretty cool. As I was saying yesterday and in this video, these spinner baits are absolutely amazing, and they're fairly inexpensive. Next up, we got my fishing line. So I always keep a spool of normal monofilament in my bag. This is 12 pound. Obviously not the strongest stuff, but it works a charm. There's no reason you can't use that like 95% of the time. And then this is the normal braided line I use. It is 30 pound test, I think. Oh no, it's right there, it says it on the bottom. 30 pound, it's Power Pro fishing line. The trilene braided line works just as well, but this is just the one that I happen to buy. Braided line is also far more expensive than normal fishing line, but it's definitely worth it in the long run. Lastly, in this bag, I have my bag of wipes, gloves, and I think there's like paper towels smushed up in there somewhere. I always like to carry this around with me. As you guys probably know, fishing is a very messy sport, and between bait and the fish themselves, it could become very, very dirty and smelly. So I always like to have this bag on me just to keep things a little bit clean. Lastly, for my fishing bag, I have a lanyard attached to the front of it. It goes through these little loops. Having a lanyard while you're fishing is such a good idea. You can attach your pliers to this, you can attach your scissors to this. There's so many things to attach to it. Even if you don't have a specific use for it, always bring a lanyard. There are so many things that you could do with it. Okay, so next we're gonna move on to my fishing rods and reels. To start, we got a medium action fishing rod here. I think I got this at Job Lot for like $19. It was a pretty cheap rod, for a good reason. The reel is not good. The rod itself, I mean, the tip broke. I'm sure I was being quite rough with it, but the tip still broke. The rod works, the reel works. This is what I used for like 2 years, but it gets the job done, but it definitely feels cheap. Next up, we got one of my favorite rods, which is my ultralight combo, which I kind of put together from 2 different rods. This reel I took off of a little 2-foot kayak rod and put it on here because this itself is probably only like 4 feet. It's not a very large rod, which is one of the things I like about it, because you can really put it into smaller areas, and it's nice. It's also extremely flexible. I mean, that's what ultralight rods do, but it's really good for whipping out your little spinnerbait, which is what I always use on this. I don't take spinnerbaits off of this line. And that's the only thing I would really recommend using on a rod like this. I mean, it really works a charm. An ultralight rod with a spinnerbait is just amazing. I can't put it into words. Next up, we got my light action rod. It's a little bit more flexible than this rod, for instance, but it's less flexible than this one. It also bends quite a lot, quite easily, and on it, once again, I have a spinnerbait. Now, next up, we have what was my main fishing rod up until about a month ago. This is, I want to say, a 7-foot rod. It's a very nice rod. Unfortunately, I did break the tip. I think I cracked it in a kayak because I jammed it in there too hard. And then right here, we got the reel. At the moment, the reel is clogged up. I do have to wash it out with just some water. But this reel is quite a good reel. It's definitely a strong reel. On here, I have probably over 100 yards of braided line. You can actually see some of the sand and stuff on the reel that I need to get cleaned off. That'll be my next project right after this video. Next up, we got my bait caster. I'm still not that good at using the bait cast reel. I'm still very new to it. But it's a very nice reel, extremely smooth, low profile. Definitely recommend the reel as long as you know what you're doing with a bait caster. It's very different than a spinning reel. So I'll actually put the link to this in my Google Drive as well. And then this rod, I couldn't tell you too much about it. All I know is it came off of one of those little spin cast reel rods that you get when you're a child. And which I'm not saying you have to be a child to get those, but I'm just saying that's normally the kind of rod that children use. I think it was one of those rods. I just threw this reel onto it and it ended up working perfectly because it has the little finger holder here behind it for extra grip so you don't drop the rod. Next up, we have my very heavy action rod. This has a very large spinning reel on it for fish like stripers, bluefish, and the rod itself is very thick and durable. As you'll see, it doesn't really bend at all. I normally use this for bottom fishing or getting it out there trying to catch stripers or bluefish on it. But once again, as I said earlier, I have still not been totally successful doing that. But that is actually what I use this rod for. So this is my 10-foot spinning rod. As you'll see, it kind of just doesn't end. It's a very tall rod, makes me look short. I am short, but this makes me look really short. And on here, I have a giant jerkbait, which I have once again used to try to catch striper, but still have not been successful. And here we have the boat that I actually use to go fishing on. It is actually a John boat converted bass boat right here. You'll see this is the area you stand on. And in here, I think I have my net. Yeah, right here, I got my net. It's a very simple net. Nothing too fancy about it. And this is what I use to fish off of. Right here, we got the fish finder, not plugged in at the moment. But yeah, so I think that'll be it for the video. If you have any questions about any specific lures or bait or anything at all, definitely go down into the comments and feel free to ask anything. I will respond to comments right away. I have my notifications on the YouTube app turned on at all times. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and bye-bye.